Hey, I'm Brandon with Titan Fuel Tanks, and today we're installing a 50-gallon 7020211 tank in this 11-16 Ford Super Duty. These instructions will also apply to the 60-gallon version of this tank, the 7021211, and the long bed version, 65 gallons, 7020311. Once you unbox your tank, you're going to want to make sure that you have all the parts needed to install. You're going to want to make sure that you have your straps. This one has 2. On the long bed tank, it has 3 straps. You're going to want to make sure you have the front support with 2 different brackets and the included hardware. And then you're going to want to make sure you have your warranty packet, which has an O-ring and a spare vent elbow inside. Make sure your truck is low enough on fuel that you can comfortably drop the tank. Once your vehicle is lifted and supported, you're ready to start removing the old tank. You're going to start by removing any fuel tank skid plates it has. This one just has the side skid plate. After you remove the skid plate, make sure that you remove this little foot that is mounted to the frame. That piece will interfere with the fitment if it's not removed. Once you've removed the skid plates from the tank, you're going to remove the fill hose and the vent line from the fender well. Next, we're going to do the fuel lines and the electrical connector for the sending unit. Sometimes I find it helpful to support the tank and remove the straps and lower the tank just slightly so I have a little bit more access and a little bit of wiggle room when I'm undoing the connectors. When you go to remove the electrical connector on the sending unit, there's a red lock. You will be pushing that towards the driver's seat. Once it is unlocked, you will depress this button and unhook the electrical connector. When you're undoing your fuel lines on the sending unit, there's a slide lock as well as a button to push. You'll start by pulling this lock towards you, and then you'll push down on the fuel line, push the button in, and pull it off. Sometimes the fuel lines build up dirt and dust and get stuck over time. Sometimes you'll need to spray them with Windex, WD-40, blow them out with air in order to get them to loosen up, to unlock, and the button to push. And sometimes you have to wiggle the tank up and down to get it at the right angle for the fuel line to pop off. Once we have both tanks side by side, it's time to start moving things from the old tank into the new tank. We're going to start by inspecting the new tank for any debris. Now I'm going to start to clean the stuff on this tank to prepare to move it over to the new tank. And I'll go in here and make sure all the rocks are broken loose, so that way it will come loose easily when we knock it. If it's really dirty, I'll take a shop vac and vacuum all this out. When you go to move your fill and vent hoses over to your new tank, make sure you keep them oriented in the right position. If they get clocked incorrectly, they can cause issues when you go to fill the tank. Now we're going to switch the sending units over. A lot of times people struggle getting the top rings on and off. Many times that's caused from using a screwdriver and a small hammer. You're going to need a big pry bar or a punch and a fairly decent sized hammer or dead blow. On the 50 and 60 gallon tank for the short bed trucks, you will be reusing this top ring. On the long bed trucks, that is a Gen 5 bolt down style, that setup needs to be torque to 20 foot-pounds, wait 15 minutes, and then torque a second time to 20 foot-pounds so that it seals correctly. Now I'm going to clean the top ring and the sending unit to prepare to move it into the Titan tank using the included Titan O-ring. When you go to put the lock ring on, Make sure you work your way around the sending unit instead of just hitting in one spot. It'll make the sending unit ring go on easier. If your truck is equipped with a transfer case skid plate and you have the 50-gallon tank or the 65-gallon long bed tank, you may need to trim or remove the transfer case skid plate. The skid plate does not need to be trimmed if you have the 60-gallon crew cab short bed tank. When you go to hook your fuel lines back on the sending unit, there's one thing you need to be careful of as you hook them up. Sometimes they will go on and get stuck halfway because of the angle. You have a sending unit nipple that's straight up and down, and the fuel line comes in at an angle, and it'll get stuck partially on, and that will cause you to suck air in with your fuel, causing loss of prime, hard starts, loss of power, things like that. In order to combat that, you need to pull the line straight, get it on, and make sure you hear the click and that you can lift it up and down and hear the lock hitting. As you lift the tank up into place, make sure that your fill hose and your vent line get pushed through the frame so that they're not getting stuck. Lift the tank into place, and then I like to do my fuel and electrical connectors on top of the sending unit before I strap it in completely so I can wiggle it and get everything connected well. Once you have your straps loosely in place, you're going to install the front support so that we can tighten everything all at once. You'll start by hanging this inside the C channel of the frame. And then you're going to get the larger bracket and bolt that up to the body mount. As you bolt it up, you are going to end up pinching the frame in this gap here between the two brackets. And then you can put this bolt that bolts the two pieces together. As you tighten that all up, it will bring the support flush against the tank and support the front of the tank. As these trucks get older, they do start to see some signs of corrosion. One of those places you can have issues is when you go to undo the body mount bolt. That body mount bolt can corrode and get rusted in place. It also has red Loctite that holds it in place. When you go to remove them, don't just wail on them with an impact or a breaker bar because you can snap them. Sometimes you need to work it back and forth. Sometimes you need to apply heat in order to get them loose without damaging the cage nut that is interior to the vehicle. Once your front support's tight and installed, tighten up the rest of your straps. Once the tank is secure in place, you're going to want to finish by hooking up your vent line and your fill hose. I like to take a little bit of grease and put it on the inside of the hose so that it slides onto the fill neck easier, then tighten up your hose clamps. Once you've finished your install, go through a quick checklist to make sure you got everything. Make sure your fuel lines are connected, your electrical connector is done, your vent line and your fill hose are tight, and that your straps are tight and your tank is secure. Once you've finished your install, fill it up and enjoy the freedom of having double the range of your stock tank. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We hope you enjoy your tank.